I just wanted to give you some information and an update about a project that I've been working on. Something happened the other day, and all of this history and past learning kind of came up and really affected my emotions. And, as a psychologist that's been practicing for over 11 years now, and having been in the education space for 15 years prior to that, realizations happened, and I think, I wanted to kind of pass along some details and think about how these things, these historical details and these learnings, and how we've been shaped by society, by education, by the daily grind, and how these things can kind of influence decisions and emotions and interactions and our social life and our functioning. So, to that effect, I have prepared something we call cognitive distortions. You may have heard of them as like thinking traps. And so, subscribe if you want to kind of be up to date with that. There are 20 of them, and I will kind of go through. And these are things like, black and white thinking, kind of all or nothing type thinking, or you might have heard of catastrophizing, when you kind of jump to conclusions, or fortune telling, where you kind of think you know the future and it becomes a reality in how you think about things. So that's the first thing I just wanted to make an announcement about, and I haven't posted in a while, so forgive me for that. And also, I kind of want to be honest about this. Well, side note, I go on tangents sometimes, but I kind of miss the good old days of YouTube where things were just, here I am, here's my video. This big production stuff, and I recognize the multicam stuff going on here, but I just wanted to keep it human, frankly. But back to the original point, which was, I think the channel kind of trying to get a look at some of the analytics and the audience details. But I think there are like 2 or 3 kind of groups that are sort of working to subscribe, and I really appreciate that, and I'm grateful for that. And despite not having posted, a lot of interest. So climbing up to nearly 420 at this point subscribers. So I'm really grateful for everyone. So thank you for that. But I think there are almost like 2 or 3 categories of why people are engaging. So I want to tell you what I think, and again, this is not sort of drag you into the word, but by all means, please engage and just let me know what it is that you've subscribed for, so that I can do more of that. It's something within my wheelhouse. If it's not, then enjoy what's already there, I suppose. But yeah, there are some documentaries and news items and things like that that I've kind of posted on earlier on in the channel's life. And then there are kind of psychology-based stuff, and then there's a kind of faith-based stream of content. So I did start actually recording a documentary and a reaction, but I didn't want to get copyright struck or anything like that, because you hear about this stuff and I'm relatively fresh to the scene in that sense. And so I'm trying to get my bearings around the technicalities of it all. I did kind of put up some streams and things like this, sort of very amateurish, trying some things here and there. But bringing things to the screen is a whole different animal, and it's a separate skill that I'm still learning. So please, by all means, if you're here for the historical documentary, early psychological experiments type stuff, let me know. Drop it in the comments. Otherwise, if it's kind of more instructional, educational, more contemporary stuff, let me know about that as well. If it's kind of faith-based fusion with psychology and kind of bringing together, a greater purpose, greater sense of meaning, then you can do that. Look, if you're new here, if you haven't seen this before, if you don't know who I am, my name's İlker. I am a psychologist working in the clinical space, and I work with patients one-to-one on a daily basis, and have been for over a decade now. And again, my sort of background in education helps me understand, build syllabi, curriculum, structure, educational content, doing psychoeducation. So there's a lot, and frankly, I'm just wanting to engage. So this is a kind of new thing for me. Think of it as, if you're here, you're a part of the community, community. All these YouTubers trying to build communities, but I think there's a reason why that's kind of been so viral for such a long time. We're human beings and we want connection. Anyway, if you want to hear me ramble, that could be a 4th category. Anyway, subscribe and like if this is the kind of stuff that you might be interested in. And honestly, drop a serious, could be a quick LDR style comment about what it is that you're interested in, what shows up on your feed. If you want a psychological take on something, I have opinions about AI and ethical use thereof and considerations and how that impacts obviously society and individual impacts as well. So there's a lot there. There's a lot there. And if there's interest, let me know. Drop a comment, like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned. But again, the original point, coming back to what's going on, there are 20 cognitive distortions we need to be aware of. So I'm wearing glasses now. If I look at my door, if you look at your door, it's a clear rectangle. It has clear corners. It has clear edges. We know it's a rectangle. Logically and cerebrally, we just understand. We can detect that intellectually. But if I were to wear blurry lenses and I look at the door and I see a blob and I perceive that as a blob, then my vision becomes distorted. So too, when we think about things in a certain way, even though we might be usually clearly thinking about things and we have an intellectual understanding of what's going on at a rational level, our perceptions of how things are, the kinds of information that we're sending upstairs as truth and facts in the ways we do, it becomes a cognitive, a thinking distortion. And so when we see clearly, we make clear decisions. When we think clearly, we make, clear, perceptive reasoning and decision judgments, and our emotions are proportionate with that. If we see blurry things, we're misjudging what a simple shape might actually be. In the heat of that moment, we're not really doing a cognitive, intellectual, rational analysis of what's going on to determine, well, the door is really an actual rectangle, right? Or it's rectangular. So likewise, when we're perceiving things, sensory inputs, things that we're perceiving from various sources, if we're misinterpreting those cues, then that could compromise our judgment, it could compromise our emotional firing, and it could send the wrong cues to our internal systems, our sort of social, emotional connections, and we might just be in need of an adjustment. Just like if we were to change the magnification on lenses to adjust the focus, we can do that with our cognitive distortions as well. So black and white thinking, catastrophizing, mind reading. So anyway, stay tuned, and I'll try to drop some B-roll in there so you can sort of get an idea of what it looks like in here somewhere. And then stay tuned, subscribe and connect so that you can get updates as I release those, inshallah. Take care. All the best.